Namaste. Welcome to the lecture series on the subject Basic Thermodynamics, Module 3, Part 2, Entropy. Lecture number 8. Myself, Dr. N. Satish Kumar, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Canara Engineering College. So, in the earlier lectures, we studied the Part 1, that is the second law of thermodynamics. So, from here onwards, in another 8 lectures, so we will study entropy. So the contents for this topic are Introduction to Entropy and Clausius theorem. Introduction. First law of thermodynamics, so that explains the concept of internal energy. So that is already we discussed. The second law of thermodynamics gives a concept of entropy. So that is our focus of study in this lecture and in the further lectures. Like internal energy, entropy is also a thermodynamic property and is defined only in terms of mathematical operations. So there is no exact definition for this, but it is defined in terms of some mathematical expressions. Okay. Entropy content of an isolated system is not conserved. So that is also an important point, like energy conservation. So entropy is also not conserved for an isolated system. Now coming to the general discussion on the entropy, for a system undergoing a quasi-static process, work done at the boundary is given by dW is equal to PdV, or delta W is equal to P into dV. So that all of you know the boundary work for a quasi-static process. This relation gives the work done at the boundary of a system during a reversible process, since a reversible process is a quasi-static process. So I hope all of you know the meaning of reversible process and the quasi-static process. Now consider a reversible cycle in which only work involved at the boundary of the system, right? A reversible cycle wherein only work is involved, because there are other types of works also can be possible. So now we have to consider only the work at the boundary of the system. Then, as we know, for a reversible cycle, since it is a cycle, cyclic integral of dq is equal to cyclic integral of dw is equal to cyclic integral of pdv. Okay. So this is how we can find out the work at the boundary of a system. Now from the equation 2 from the previous slide, work is given by the cyclic integral of product of two properties. So cyclic integral of PdV, so two variables are there. So two properties, pressure P is an intensive property and dV is change in an extensive property. So what you find there is a product of an intensive property and a change in an extensive property. For reversible cycle, when work, which is a path function, as all of you know, is defined by the product of two properties, one is intensive and other is change in extensive property, that is P into dV. The question is, why can't heat, which is also a path function, can be defined by the cyclic integral of product of two properties, one intensive and other change in an extensive property. As all of you know, both heat and work are the path functions. Now we know that the work can be defined by the product of two properties, one is intensive and other is change in extensive property. Now the question is, why can't we do the same thing or apply the same thing for the heat? Yes, the intensive property most closely associated with the heat is the temperature. Like the work, it is associated with the pressure, because work is because of the pressure difference usually, whereas heat is because of the temperature difference. So the intensive property you can take it as heat, temperature for heat in place of pressure for work. So the other extensive property, or rather it is a change in extensive property, the answer is entropy. So in previous work part you have it as change in volume. Now you can have it as change in entropy. So then what exactly is entropy? So now it is our duty to understand the exact meaning of entropy. So there are many definitions given by many scientists or engineers who have done many research work on this. So let us go through these expressions, few, not all. Entropy is an extensive property, a measure of the disorder of the system. That is one of the very important definitions. So it measures the disorder of the system. The greater the disorder, the greater the entropy. Disorder means not in proper order. Okay. The state of a disorder in a thermodynamic system, the more energy, the higher the entropy. So in the state of disorder, so there will be more energy, and we call it as the entropy is higher. A measure of dispersal or degradation of energy. So entropy is also the measure of degradation of energy. So that we will come to see later what is the degradation of energy. A measure of disorder or randomness in a closed system. So entropy is a measure of disorder or randomness. Randomness means it is not proper order. So now let us take the example. The entropy of a unburned piece of wood is, if you take a piece of wood and its surroundings is lower than the entropy of the ashes, burnt remains and warmed surroundings due to burning of that piece of wood. You see, when you take a piece of wood, so everything is in order. Now when you burn it, right, so what you get is the remaining is the ashes or the burnt remains, and at the same time, so there will be some heat addition to the surroundings. So warm surrounding. Now all these things leads to increase in entropy of the burnt remains as well as the surrounding. So when it was a piece of wood, so its entropy is lesser. Okay. Now let us come to the Clausius theorem. So for this entropy, so this Clausius has given a theorem. The thermal efficiency of reversible Carnot cycle eta Carnot is equal to 1 minus QL by QH, which is also equal to 1 minus TL by TH. So I hope all of you remember the second law of thermodynamics. In order to understand the entropy chapter, so the basis is the second law. So I hope all of you can recall that the efficiency of the Carnot cycle, which is a reversible cycle always, the standard cycle, so it is expressed as in terms of heat as well as in terms of temperature. So eta Carnot is equal to 1 minus QL by QH in terms of heat quantities is equal to 1 minus TL by TH in terms of temperature. So only for reversible Carnot cycle these two quantities are equal, otherwise it is not equal for irreversible cycle. So from this expression we can write QH by TH is equal to QL by TL. Considering the usual sign convention, positive for the heat absorbed and negative for the heat rejected. Now here, as all of you know, a reversed Carnot cycle, now this expression is for efficiency, means it is applicable for reversible Carnot engine. So engine absorbs heat from the high temperature reservoir and rejects part of this heat after converting to work the remaining part of the heat into the sink. So there is heat absorption from the source, also there is an heat rejection to the sink. There is a heat rejection to the sink as well as. That means QH is positive, QL is negative. I hope it is very clear for all of you. So if you take the sign convention and apply to the equation 1, so QH by TH becomes equal to minus QL by TL or QH by TH plus QL by TL is equal to 0. Now this is a very important relationship for the reversible Carnot cycle. The heat absorbed from the high temperature divided by the temperature of the high temperature reservoir plus heat rejected to the sink and the temperature, its temperature, the ratio. So summation is always equal to 0. So from equation 2, so the quantities that is QH by TH and QL by TL associated with absorption and rejection of heat. You see, QH by TH is associated with the absorption because QH is the amount of heat absorbed, and QL by TL is a quantity associated with the heat rejection because QL is the amount of heat rejected. Okay, so for a reversible heat engine is 0 for the entire cycle. So the summation of these two quantities are always equal to 0 for a reversible cycle or reversible heat engine. Yes, I am emphasizing that word reversible. Otherwise it is not true. Keep it in your mind. Since the working fluid returns to its initial state at the end of the cycle, it undergoes no net change in the properties. So all of you know the meaning of the cycle. So at the end of the cycle, the fluid returns to its initial state. That means all the properties are regained. In the sense, no net change in the property values. If the pressure is P1 in the beginning of the cycle, when the cycle is completed after undergoing sequence of process, so once again the pressure will be P1 itself. Temperature also remains same, means come to its initial state, initial value rather. All other properties. So there is no change in properties for a cycle. In that case, the quantities QH by TH and QL by TL represents property changes of the working fluid, because this is also 0. The summation of QH by TH and QL by TL is 0. So that also represents changes of the working fluid, property changes of the working fluid, because their sum is also 0 for the cycle. So sum is 0 for any cycle means it is a property. Like the change in property of pressure, temperature, see everything is 0 for the cycle. Same way, so here this quantity QH by TH and QL by TL also represents a change in property. So this is the characteristic of a property or state function. Now here QH and QL, as you know, are the heat quantities and they are the path function. However, if they are divided by the temperature at which the heat transfer takes place, because QH is divided by TH, because QH is a heat absorbed from the high temperature reservoir whose temperature is TH. Try to understand this. So here the quantities, heat quantities are divided by the temperatures at which the heat transfer takes place. The result is independent of the path. So QH is depending on path, but QH by TH is independent of path. QL is depending on path, QL by TL is independent of path. So this is conclusion is for the Carnot cycle. The above conclusion is valid for any reversible cycle. So that is what I told you. So this is true for any reversible cycle. Okay, now let us consider any arbitrary reversible cycle A, B, C, D, A as shown in the figure. A, B, C, D and back to A. So that is why it is A to B is a process, B to C is a process, C to D and back to A, D to. So 4 processes constituting a cycle. So here what we assume is the heat absorption and heat rejection do not occur at 2 constant temperatures, because usually in a Carnot cycle, so the heat addition, that is A to B, and heat rejection C to D are taking place at constant temperatures. But here we assume that, so they are not taking place at a constant temperature, instead they are taking place at continuously changing temperatures. That means A to E one temperature, E to F another temperature, F to M, M to J and J to B, that is all heat addition temperatures. Similarly, heat rejection takes place at temperature C to K is at one temperature, K to N is another temperature, N to G, G to H, D to, you see different temperatures. So we are just assumption. Okay. Now the cycle can be now broken into finite. Now for as per this small difference in temperatures, so we are splitting the cycle like, so let me remove these lines. Okay, so now you are considering infinite number of elementary cycles, Carnot cycles, like A, E, H, D, E here. You see, A, E, H, D, A, one cycle, then E, F, G, H, E, one more cycle, again M, N. See, elementary Carnot cycles. I hope you can understand, splitting into small Carnot cycles. Now to understand that better, so you have drawn series of infinitely closed adiabatic lines. You see here, as I told you earlier, A to E, E to F, all these from A to B. So each of these small process are the constant temperature process. Okay, temperature may be different from one process to another process, but all are isothermal process. Similarly, between C and D. So whatever the process, C to K, N, K to N, all these are the constant temperature. Whereas these process, you see this D to A or B to C, and similarly the parallel dotted curves, right? All these are the adiabatic lines. So they are called as the series of infinitely closed adiabatic lines like EH, FG, MN, etc. Okay. Now here EFGH, as I told you earlier, EFGH, okay, let me draw only one because otherwise it will confuse you. EFGH, second one is FMNG, you can observe from the figure. So all these represents small Carnot cycles called as elementary Carnot cycles, in which EF, GH are considered as isothermal lines. That is what I told you at the beginning also. So each of the small processes are the isothermal process. So entire A to B is not we are considering as an isothermal process. So all of you should understand this before I go to the next slide. Okay. So for any differential Carnot cycle, differential means what? Elementary Carnot cycle, better word. Okay, you can use that. Elementary Carnot cycle EFGH, just one example. We may write QH1 by TH1 is equal to QL1 by TL1, because for any Carnot cycle this is true, that we already studied. So let us take for this cycle EFGH. So heat absorbed is QH1 at temperature TH1 and heat rejected is QL1 at temperature TL1. Now using the proper sign convention for this cycle EFGH, we can write QH1 by TH1 plus QL1 by TL1 is equal to 0, because this is minus if you use the sign convention. When it goes to the left hand side, okay, this term, so both becomes positive and it is equal to 0. That already we studied. Okay. Now similarly for the next cycle, I am not able to name that because it is in the previous slide. I can't go back also. You can write QH2 by TH2 is plus QL2 by TL2 is equal to 0. Okay, it is written here. So for the cycle FMNG. So for the second cycle, you are considered n number of such infinite number of elementary cycles, right? So for each cycles we can write like this. Now from these relations, what we find is the algebraic sum of the ratios of the amounts of heat transfer to the absolute temperature for the Carnot cycles taken together is equal to 0. So if you add for EFGH plus FMNG cycle, see all these are the quantities, and if you add for all elementary cycles, so the summation is equal to 0. Okay. So you can write it as the summation of QH by TH plus QL by TL is equal to 0, because for each elementary cycle you have this term. So you have n number of elementary cycles, so you can write it as the summation is equal to 0. Now if you observe here, so every term is nothing but the ratio of Q by T. Maybe it is connected to high temperature reservoir or maybe it is connected to the low temperature reservoir for each of these cycles, but the term is Q by T. So as the number of Carnot cycles is very large, so you have many such terms. So the terms are nothing but q by t. So for a complete cycle, you can write it as cyclic integral of del q by t, because many such cycles are there, right? So you can write as cyclic integral of del q by t is equal to 0, right? So here suffix r is there after cyclic integral sign, which indicates that it is representing a reversible cycle, because this is true only for a reversible cycle. So therefore the cyclic integral of del q by t for a reversible cycle is 0, and this is known as the Clausius theorem. So very important, this is true only for the reversible cycle, and for a reversible cycle the cyclic integral of del q by t is equal to 0, and this term del q by t is known as the entropy. Okay. So with this I conclude this lecture number 8, and we will continue with lecture number 9. Thank you.